Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl is the most anticipated entry in the Stalker franchise, which the Xbox Series exclusive. The game is releasing after a decade of 13 years, after the last entry in the series, and it's making its debut on consoles as an Xbox Series X only exclusive title. It was set to release on April 28 this year, but in January 2022, developer GSC Game World announced that the game would be delayed until December 7, 2022. The game delay because of ongoing Russian invasion. Due to the unprecedented circumstances, the team has put work on the game on hold until the conflict has been resolved. Ever since Russia invaded Ukraine, many gaming companies have made statements about these events, such as 11-bit studios, CD Projekt Red, Gameloft, GSC Game World, have all issued statements. Despite the terrible conflict still in process, the developers are releasing new gameplay showcasing what the game looks like and what to expect in game features. Microsoft first revealed Stalker 2 during the Xbox Series X game showcase in 2020 with demo build gameplay. The trailer shows of the grim, desolate wasteland through a series of striking images, setting the brooding tone the game will likely have. With new Nvidia graphics card will launch within next month with DLSS 3.0 and AMD super sampling. The game will have more ray tracing visual updates. The game story sets the players to discover the vast Chernobyl exclusion zone full of dangerous enemies, deadly anomalies, and powerful artifacts. This heavily implies that, much like the first game, players' actions will make a big impact on how the narrative wraps up. Beyond that, not much is known about what the actual story will be aside from it being it focuses on escape from Tarkov and DayZ, like survival games. The latest trailer was revealed during the Xbox Extended Games Showcase this year, reveals a whole new world. The trailer shows off a lot of interesting gameplay systems. The first is the ability to grab attachments for your weapons around the environment and immediately attach them. The trailer reveals player grabbing a scope and a silencer and equipping them right away without going through an inventory screen. It also shows off several enemy designs, including an updated bloodsucker design that looks strikingly similar to Cthulhu-like creatures. True to the Stalker series, the visuals look insane in the gameplay trailer. However, Microsoft didn't clarify what system the gameplay was running on. While there is lot of action scenes in the trailer, survival mechanics will still be involved. With focus on survival, players have to manage hunger, radiation, and stamina in this open-world survival horror fiction game. The game is also set to receive 2 story expansions, which are described as additional large-scale expansions that continue or expand the main story. The game will also likely receive more DLC outside of the 2 expansions. Stalker 2 is set in a fictional version of the Chernobyl exclusion zone in which the power plant mysteriously exploded again in 2006, causing strange supernatural events that defy all scientific reasoning and spawning horrifying mutated beasts that began to roam. According to a trailer's video description, the protagonist is named Skiff. As a result of the second explosion, special items called artifacts were created. These artifacts provide special effects to the people who hold them, such as protection from radiation or increased natural healing. Due to how valuable these artifacts are, many have made a living sneaking into the zone to collect them to sell to the outside world. Some have formed factions within the zone as well, such as Duty, which is a group comprised primarily of ex-Ukrainian military soldiers who want to protect the world from the dangers of the zone. All of the people who operate within the zone's borders are known as Stalkers. The developers stated that the game will feature a big open world to explore, non-linear story that will be driven by player choice in both the short term and long term. This is on brand for the Stalker series, as the 3 previous games, Shadow of Chernobyl, Clear Sky, and Call of Pripyat, all had stories that were influenced heavily by player choice. They also stated that you won't need to have played those games to enjoy or understand the story of Stalker 2.
Stalker series is characterized by its horror shooter gameplay blend. In the original Stalker games, encounters were designed to feel intense and nerve-wracking. Whether you were fighting scary supernatural mutants or squads of heavily armed mercs, you always felt like you could die at any moment because of how dangerous the zone was. Therefore, properly using cover and maintaining your guns and armor were critical to success.
There were also some light survival elements, such as hunger and radiation levels that you had to keep in check with food and drugs. In terms of structure, the games were non-linear, as the world consisted of smaller maps connected together to form an open world. Stalker 2 will follow in the previous game's footsteps and deliver a similar type of experience. The developers describes the game as a unique blend of FPS, immersive sim and horror with a really thick atmosphere, and states that it will offer one of the biggest open worlds to date. Additionally, the game has also been described to have fast-paced change of scenery, ominous landscapes and the ever-present feeling of an inevitable danger accompanied by a barely distinguishable guitar soundtrack. Notably, according to details provided in the PC Gamer UK January 2021 issue, Stalker 2 will have more of an emphasis on survival mechanics, and players will be forced to deal with stamina and weapon handling penalties if they don't properly take care of their character. They also confirmed that, in addition to everything seen before in the older games, new locations, mutants, artifacts, and anomalies would all be coming to the game as well. One such mutant is a deadly irradiated mutant deer that will use its bones as both armor and weapons against stalkers, and will also possess the power to control other nearby mutants and create illusory copies of itself. There are plenty of new weapons, outfits, and factions available for players to interact with and use, too, including Ward, a faction that aims to police and control the zone. The developers is also committing to making Stalker 2 as mod-friendly as possible, which will please the PC gaming community. Stalker 2 is also getting PvP multiplayer in a free post-launch update, with the developers confirming that it will include a deathmatch and team deathmatch mode. Players will be able to customize their characters' cosmetics, though no other details about the experience are currently known. The trailer shown for Stalker 2 at the Xbox Series X July event in 2020 is said to be indicative of how the game will look at launch. We also know that Stalker 2 will support ray tracing. Additionally, the developers are aiming to make each and every stalker in the zone look unique with tools that allow them to give NPCs distinguishable features. For example, many of the stalkers you encounter will have missing teeth or dental crowns. A new report from PC Gamer reveals that a Russian streamer who goes by two names, Nevazno, K2, and Velicheshi, uploaded footage of an apparent console port of the original Stalker game, first released on PC in 2007, accompanied by a 5-page document. Said document details that Nevazno leaked the footage because GSC Game World has, in his eyes, discriminated against Russian fans by encouraging them to donate to Ukraine's Come Back Alive Foundation. The foundation helps supply defensive equipment to the Ukrainian armed forces, and donating to the Ukrainian military is a crime in Russia, hence Nevazno's anger. Nevazno's chief problem is that GSC, a Ukrainian developer, did not make Russian supporters aware of the potential legal consequences of donating to the Come Back Alive Foundation. This was an attempt to make bargaining chips out of Russians, he wrote in the document, seen by PC Gamer. The only mention of criminality came when people began to complain about this shit to Roskomnadzor, Russia's media monitoring agency. PC Gamer spoke to GSC, who said, "We have been publishing pleas to help Ukraine in our social media and on our web resources, just like thousands of other Ukrainian companies. Nonetheless, an important thing to mention is that we also added a clarification about the donations from Russia later on. We think we might be in the absolute minority, if not the only ones, to do so." The document reportedly includes a number of other complaints, including Nevazno's belief that Russian players are discriminated against in GSC's Discord server, but the choice to release footage of the console port of Stalker seems to mostly be rooted in this donations issue. Nevazno told PC Gamer that he hopes this leak concludes his attack on GSC. "I hope that everything ends with this," he said. "It doesn't matter how I got it. What's important is that I didn't lie, and this is not some fan mod. This leak was made out of a desire to achieve justice, which I saw in revenge by any means at all. This was a cry from the soul." As for the leak itself, while it does look reasonably genuine, there's currently no confirmation from GSC over the video's authenticity. The developer did, however, deny to PC Gamer that the leak came from an employee also upset about the studio's attitude to Russian fans, which is how Nevazno claims he came into possession of the footage. Release date for Stalker 2 was originally April 28, 2022, but it was delayed to December 2022 in January 2022, and then delayed again to 2023 following the start of the conflict in Ukraine. Currently, the game is still slated to launch at some point in 2023, though there are no specific details about when Stalker 2 will release next year. As always, thank you for watching. If you enjoy our contents, please consider subscribing, that will help us with the YouTube algorithm, and also check out our website and subscribe for free newsletter for latest gaming related articles.